So there is a interesting patch on the experimental card currently. Um, One of them, which we'll take a look today, is the rechange of Moira to a state where I don't think that she should be, and I'm questioning, even with all my coaching experience, about why this is coming through. And I'm glad it's on the experimental card, and I hope for once, because it's normally experimental card goes through. But with this patch, I really hope that Blizzard does not let it go onto live. Hello there, my beautiful and lovely gamers. My name is Jonal. I'm back in Oslo, back from vacation, just applying for jobs and doing stuff like that now. So hopefully videos will start picking up the pace. Thank you guys for the support while I'm been gone. Of course, before this video starts, a like on the video helps sharing it around so that hopefully this won't go on live. And of course, if you like this type of content, subscribe to the channel, turn on bell notification. We're pushing closer and closer to 20,000 subscribers, which would be amazing if we could hit it by the end of this year. Make 2020 a little bit better for me personally, but with no further ado, let's really talk about this. I am questioning some of the rebalance changes that they're doing to Moira. The next video will be on Genji, talking about the Genji state. I want to have a little bit more playtime with him, and I think this is so important to take in one video. I don't want to bundle these together where the Genji would outshine this, because I think it's important, at least personally, I think that it's important that we as a community tell Blizzard to fuck off with this. This is not something that I think is helpful for the game. It's good that it's on the experimental card. Let's not get mad at Blizzard, but let's share this video around and tell Blizzard, hey, we don't want this on live because this stuff is damaging. Now, there are some good stuff. This is more of a retuning. Overall, if you look at it as an overall hero, it is a buff. But if you look at it, the overall, like on the specific pods, there are two of these pods that are actually really, really good. And I think it's very healthy for Moira as a character, both for players, but also in the eyes of the community. But I think actually would make her... would make the community look upon her in a more favorable light. Biotic Grasp, her normal sucky damage ability. The attach angle is reduced by 37%, meaning essentially you need to aim closer to the hitbox to actually get something done with it. Which I think is nice. It doesn't really, when I played it, didn't really feel like anything. Then again, I think it's of course unfair to put me on that, as I'm a little bit higher ranked than the average player base. But in overall, it doesn't feel like it's going to do a difference. If I coach a gold player, I'm not going to notice the difference between him playing Moira on live or current is the attach angle. I think it's easy to keep track anyway. It's still like this area around kind of effect, and I think that's fine. But I think it really does give a good impact for the community and how they look upon this. Then the Biotic Orb, the nightmare of every player. The damage orb has gotten a complete change. First of all, the damage radius has been reduced from 4 to 3 meters. The projectile slow amount after a target is found is increased from 72.5 up to 80%, meaning when you find the target, the orb will slow down more, which actually gives it just more precision, allows Moira players to focus one target a little bit easier as long as he's not getting body blocked. And I think that's just nice to have a little bit more control over the orb, which is actually, you could say it's a slight buff if you look upon it in that regard. It won't pass through as many targets necessarily, but it will be easier to focus fire a single target with it a little bit. So I think it's just a nice little just retune to give a little bit more control for the Moira player and add a little bit extra skill to it, even though it's not a lot. And this is a huge thing, damage per second now scales based on how close the targets are to the Biotic Orb. On live server currently, you will always deal 50 damage per second to a total of 200 damage. The orb holds 200 damage and will always deal 50 damage per second. It's still on the experimental card. It's still 200 damage total. So the total damage, you can still kill a normal DPS if it's get locked in a room with it. However, now it scales. So if you're between 0 and 1 meter, it will now deal 150 damage per second, allowing you to burst people incredibly fast. And I noticed this when I was dueling people. Sending this just straight in their face is scary deadly. You end up with your grasp and you can like nuke people 1v1 as long as you have the orb open. You can really get easily kills, and it was absolutely brutal when I used it. If you're between 1 to 3 meters, it will scale linearly down from 150 all the way down to 25 damage per second. And this is a buff for Moira. Even though it's more precise. Her orbs are more precise, and her Biotic Grass takes a little bit more skill to use. But I think this is actually a really good way to go with her, because it allows her dueling potential to be a little bit up if they were gonna buff or change her. Currently, I was thinking that Moira was actually in a pretty good state. I think that the scaling, maybe 150 damage a little bit too much. At least it felt bad. Maybe turn it down to like 125 or maybe 100. But I think it's a good way to give Moira players a little bit more control over the hero. And I think that's nice for gameplay options. But now comes the bullshit. And I think that this should never ever go to live. And if it goes to live, I would be very disappointed in the balancing team. As much respect as I have for those guys, I don't think they should ever go live. I think it's an interesting one. I think it's interesting that they put it to experimental. Again, don't be mad at the fucking balancing team that they are testing out shit on the experimental card. But I think it's really, really important. Please like this video. Please share it around. This shouldn't go on live. Now, phase out all... When you're using your Fade, you now phase out all allies within 6 meters and yourself for 1 second after exiting your Fade. The phasing makes hero immune to all damage and effects. It will work exactly like Reaper's Wraith form or Moira's own Fade effect in this regard. That is insane. The fact that, number one, you get to fade out your entire team, and it doesn't really affect them. They can still do stuff. They can still fight for that 1 second. You grant 1 second immunity to everybody in 6 meter range, and Moira's heal is already playing around those ranges. This is ridiculously how broken this is. You can fade out abilities. You can fade shatters. That's how busted this is. Yes, you need to pre-time it a little bit, but you can fade out shatters. I saved my Ana by when there was a Genji blade on her, by fading to her and jumping out and giving her 1 second immunity so he missed a swing on the end of his combo. Like, you can do so much bullshit with this. It's ridiculous. You can fade people out of gravitons. You can give them immunity. If they get pinned by a Ryan and you time this correctly, you can fade and get them out of that. If an Ana lands an insane nade, which is really difficult to do in high elos, you just fade and you cure the entire anti-nade. A 6-man nade in a grab can be cured by the Moira pressing shift and just curing the entire thing. This is unprecedented and completely unbalanced, in my opinion. In solo queue and low elo solo queue, it might have an effect. It does give Moira mains a higher skill ceiling, which I think is what they're trying to do with this. But if you look at it from a competitive standpoint, if this goes live on contenders level or our level or even high elo games in scrims in tier 3 scene, this is completely stupid. It counterplays so many abilities, and it's not like it's like completely like a must pick all the time, because, you know, Fade has a cooldown and it's still a 1 second immunity is something, but there's a lot of scenarios where that 1 second, right, if you time it against certain skill shots, like, you know, Reinhardt pins, or you time it against like anti-nades or something like that, then it gets really dangerous. But like overall, you know, if you're setting up like combos, like certain team composition with healers, you're not picking Moira just for that fucking Fade. But Moira already is really good. The fact that she can duel and deny a lot of space already now with the new patch to her buff, she deals 150 damage in an orb. Coalescence has always been a really good reason to pick her, as it's really good for like choke denial, stopping pushes, or really just as an engage ultimate by focusing and healing and just dealing so much fucking damage. It's a really good ultimate and builds really fast. And Moira in herself is very survivable, and you pick her a lot for that survivability. She can dish out a lot of healing, good damage, has a strong ultimate. And now, by having her on your team, you can stop anti-nades, you can stop pins, you can stop punches from Doomfist, you can stop... If a Doomfist is using his Meteor Strike, you can stop that. You can literally gain immunity, as it's a little bit predictable when it will slam down. You can actually give your team immunity to that. You can get people out of gravitons, you can get people out of so many scenarios. It's ridiculous, unprecedented, and in my opinion completely utterly stupid. I understand trying to get her to a skill level where now Moira mains that knows how to time her Fade and land within 6 meters of a team will give them a 1 second immunity, but they can fight during that 1 second, and if you're Moira herself, you also get an additional 1 second of immunity to your Fade where you can do stuff. And it just becomes this ridiculous fest of just like absolute denial by pressing one single button. And it's not the right way to go for balancing, if you ask me. Again, I would like to hear your opinions down in the comment section. Commenting also helps against the algorithm, together with liking and so on. I hope this doesn't go live. Subscribe to the channel. The next video will be on the Genji buff. I hope you guys have a lovely evening. There's some crazy shit. And I recommend that you guys go and play the new Moira on live server. Even like again, it's really nice that people are listening to my opinion and taking highly, and I respect that. But also make up your own opinions. So go onto the game now and jump into the experimental card and try out Moira if you have the chance, and just see what I mean by trying to duel somebody with that with her orb. It's insane. If you don't know how to time the fate stuff, just fuck it. But try to duel people. Go into deathmatch. Like try to do, like, if you're waiting in lobby, jump into deathmatch lobby, pick Moira, and just like toss orbs at people. It's really ridiculous how fast you can burst them now. But I'll stop rambling. If you want to hire me as a private coach, it's 50 euros for a 2-hour session. Hit me up on the Discord server down in the description. I love you guys very much. Peace, take care, stay positive, and as always, reminds me, Joe, that you guys keep the enemy in your crosshair.